My ex's parents financially abandoned their children and ruined my relationship with their daughter. I bought them concert tickets as a Christmas gift when I was with her and resold them while they were under the impression that they still had the tickets. They drove for a total of 6 hours. Here's a little story for you. When I was 18, I was dating this girl. She was nice, sweet, and innocent, and I didn't know better. Think homeschooled with a Christian education foundation in all of her classes and adopted. She came from a family where her dad had a construction company and her mom was a stay-at-home wife. Well, her dad was hurt at work and ended up receiving disability for life due to his arm being caught in a garage door. Due to this, the family was set back. All of the sudden, the kids were being diagnosed left and right during their teenage years with some sort of disability, with the mother doing the talking and being friends with their PCP. It was to the point where they all had some sort of mental health issue and were put on SSI income, paid in full to my ex's mother, of course. My ex was on SSI because she was coerced into faking dyslexia, as crazy as that sounds. So, while her mother is receiving her checks as an adult, she decided to take over as all of the kids' PCA, caregiver. She would collect money at a wage of $16 per hour for each child. There were 4 of them at $64 per hour. My ex confirmed this by showing me a picture of the pay statement, knowing that it was wrong, all while not spending a moment of her time with them and living her own luxury lifestyle. I had been dating one daughter who had nothing wrong mentally and admitted to helping her mom manipulate the system. Trying to do something nice for her parents, I purchased them tickets for Christmas, online, to see Journey, her mom's favorite band. My ex started wanting to move in with me after a year and a half of dating. I said yes to her. She explained this to her mom, and the mom outright lost it, saying that she was financially ruining the family by leaving the family home. The PCA payments would cease. Her mom started blaming me, blaming my faith because it was a different Christian denomination from their faith, and saying that I was only interested in my ex's SSI payments, which I was interested in ending completely because I made enough, and she was very capable of working any job. Her father was threatening to physically harm me at that time. My ex was being torn in two, and I wasn't going to force her to pick me over her family. She broke up with me. I was very unhappy at that time. I was trying to move forward in life and got accepted into a nicer apartment. There was only one problem. I was about $300 short of meeting the security deposit requirement. I had a brilliant revelation. I swiftly logged into my Ticketmaster account. The tickets I paid for were still there, and the concert was in 2 weeks. I scanned over the screen and found the sell option. You better believe that I sold those tickets and immediately got that apartment locked down. This was 7 months after giving them the tickets. 2 weeks later, my phone blows up from my ex's whole family, telling me what a piece of shit I am. I sat back and looked, and a sick grin came over my face. My ex reached out saying that I made her parents so mad. They drove for 3 hours just to get turned away at the gate. They tried to find someone scalping or reselling concert tickets, but the show was completely sold out, and they had no luck. Moral of the story? Don't be a piece of shit to others, or you may receive the same in return. I don't regret doing that one single bit. Update 1. So I honestly thought the whole thing was done. I got my apartment, I moved on, the concert was over, and I figured their family meltdown was just noise that would die out after a day or two. I expected them to rage, sure, but I didn't expect what came next. The amount of energy they put into being pissed off at me was insane. At first it was the normal stuff, calling me names, saying I was heartless, telling me I ruined their Christmas even though Christmas was months ago. Whatever, I'm not made of glass. But then it shifted into something else. They started dragging religion into it again, saying I acted out of spite because their denomination was the real one, and mine was apparently some counterfeit version. They kept throwing around lines like I turned their daughter against them, which was funny because she was the one who broke up with me. I didn't push her to leave them. I didn't push her to stay either. She let her mom talk her into tearing everything down, but somehow I'm the puppet master. Her dad tried to puff his chest through messages too, not threatening me directly again, but he kept sending these half-coded guilt trips about how I disrespected the family and humiliated them. I didn't even respond. If a grown man can drive 6 hours round trip just to be turned away at a gate, that's on him, not me. I didn't tell him to get back in his truck. I didn't force him to stand there like an idiot arguing with security. He could have checked the tickets at any point in the 7 months I didn't mention them. But the real mess started when her mom got loud with everyone she knew. Apparently she told half her church and most of her extended family that I stole from the disabled. She said I intentionally set the whole thing up just to hurt them. She told people I had been abusive, controlling, and manipulating their daughter since day one. She even said I used her daughter for money, which is hilarious considering she was pocketing her daughter's SSI checks like a dragon hoarding gold. She was telling people I targeted her vulnerable daughter, like I swooped in with a plan to infiltrate their weird little family operation. The best part? She started making up details about the tickets, claiming I promised her something in writing and then broke the agreement. I never wrote her anything. She was rewriting history so fast I'm surprised her hands didn't catch fire. And then my ex messaged me again, not to apologize or clear the air. She started in with the guilt too, asking why I had to go that far. She acted like I woke up one morning and decided to cause chaos for fun. There was zero recognition of how her mom treated me, how her dad threatened me, or how she let her family trash me while I stayed silent. She still acted like she was stuck between two worlds, except she refused to see that she was the one who picked theirs over mine. She kept saying her parents were hurt and that I embarrassed them. I'll be honest, that didn't move me at all. They embarrassed themselves long before I ever stepped into the picture. That was when I realized they weren't just mad, they were using me as the scapegoat for whatever stress they were dealing with behind closed doors. That family lives off stress. They feed on it like oxygen. So I decided I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of backing down or apologizing. If they wanted to paint me as the villain, fine. At least I'd be a villain with my own place. Update 2. I didn't think I'd be writing another update this fast, but things took a turn that I honestly didn't see coming. I thought the concert thing would be the end of it, one last petty moment before I moved on with my life. But apparently, these people operate on a different frequency where nothing is ever really over. They don't let things die. They hold on to drama like it's a family heirloom. For about a week after they blew up my phone, everything was quiet, dead quiet. I figured they'd burn themselves out yelling at me, or maybe they finally realized they couldn't squeeze anything out of me anymore. Either way, I was enjoying the peace. I was settling into my new apartment, getting used to actual silence, and focusing on work. Then, the messages started again, not the rage-filled ones from before. This time, it was the kind of stuff you only get from people who need something. The tone was completely different. It was all this overly sweet, hope you're doing well stuff that didn't even sound like them. Even my ex's mom sent me this long thing about forgiveness and grace and second chances. I wasn't fooled for a second. They only talk like that when they want something. I ignored it at first. I didn't owe them anything. Then my ex reached out again, and her message was different. Not angry, not soft, just blunt. I could tell she had been put up to it. She basically said her parents wanted me to transfer the money of the tickets back because they thought they had some entitlement to that money. This part makes me laugh even now. According to them, I ruined a family memory and disrespected their generosity. Generosity. Like they ever did anything for me besides give me headaches and stress. I told her there was nothing to transfer. She went quiet after that, and I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. A day later, she sent another message. This one actually made sense. She told me the family was being reviewed again for their SSI stuff. They get reviewed randomly, but apparently the mom was in full panic mode this time. She kept ranting that someone must have reported them, and because they live in a bubble where everything is about them, she somehow decided I was the one who did it. For the record, I didn't. I hadn't done anything. I hadn't even mentioned them to anyone. But the mom was convinced. She was spiraling so hard, she was telling the whole family that my ticket stunt kicked off the investigation. She didn't have proof for anything. She never does. She just says things and forces everyone to nod along. This is where things started getting messy in a different way. One of the siblings reached out to me. Not the one I dated, one of the others who also had SSI checks funneled through the mom. He apologized out of nowhere, said the whole situation was miserable, and admitted the family was falling apart from the inside. According to him, the mom was turning on everyone. She kept accusing them of being ungrateful and disloyal. The dad was yelling more. Money was tight, and they were all blaming each other because none of them wanted to blame the actual problem, her. This sibling also told me they were all aware the ticket money was gone long before the concert. They just didn't tell their parents. They thought watching the meltdown would be funny. That's how normal it is in that house. Everything is a game of sabotage and loyalty tests. For a minute, I thought maybe I'd made this whole thing bigger than it needed to be. Then the next thing happened. My ex showed up at my new apartment. I wasn't expecting it. I didn't give her my address. She got it from a mutual friend who didn't know the full story. She didn't show up angry or dramatic. She just looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept properly in days. Not in a manipulative way, more like genuine burnout. I didn't invite her in or anything. We just talked outside because I wasn't letting her into my space. She bounced around emotionally. Defensive one moment, upset the next, then angry at herself. She said she regretted breaking up with me, not because she suddenly loved me, but because she realized her parents made her choose before she even had time to think. She said her dad's threats were worse than what she told me back then, that her mom had basically said she'd cut her off and call her ungrateful. She said she'd tried to defend me recently, but it made everything worse, so she stopped. She didn't ask to get back together. She just seemed lost, like she didn't know where to go now that the family was falling apart, and she had no ability to stand on her own 2 feet. And I didn't know how to feel. I wasn't angry at her anymore, but I didn't feel that softness I used to feel either. It was like talking to a stranger who looked familiar. I felt sorry for her, but that was about it. She helped her mom commit fraud. She let her mom manipulate her entire life. She let me take the hits when things blew up. And now she didn't know what to do with herself. Update 3. I didn't get this update from social media. They barely know how to use the internet. It came through someone who grew up close to them, someone who actually knew the dad before the accident. This person heard everything from the ex's uncle, who finally had enough of the chaos. Apparently, the aunt and uncle were pulled into the mess when the siblings started fighting openly with their parents. It wasn't quiet fighting either. It was screaming, doors slamming, threats, accusations, the whole thing. You'd think the adults would try to calm it down, but the parents acted like they were the victims of their own kids. According to this family friend, the dad's brother confronted the parents after one of the siblings broke down and admitted their mom had been taking all of their SSI money for years. The brother apparently knew the kids had issues, but didn't know it was all orchestrated by the mom, or that the dad was letting it happen. The dad tried to play dumb and pretend he didn't know how everything worked, but the brother didn't buy it. That's when the mom completely lost it. She said everyone was ganging up on her, and she yelled that the state was only re-reviewing them because of what I did with the concert tickets. She said that I triggered everything. I sat there hearing this secondhand, and just felt this mix of disbelief and annoyance. I didn't think the ticket thing had any real power. It was petty. That's all. Something I did because I was tired of getting pushed around by people who thought I was some easy target. I didn't expect it to become the central storyline of their family collapse. But the mom needed someone to blame, and I was the easiest one. It didn't matter that I had nothing to do with whatever investigation was happening. She told her relatives that my selfish stunt caused their financial ruin. Meanwhile, they were the ones who built their whole lives on fake diagnoses and fraudulent paperwork. While all of that was happening on their side, the ex reached out again. I didn't block her. I didn't want to talk every day, but I wasn't going to be heartless either. She sounded different this time, not in the dramatic, upset way from before, more like someone who'd been sitting with uncomfortable truths too long. She admitted things she never told me during the relationship, stuff that made certain moments suddenly make sense. She told me how her mom would punish her whenever she didn't follow orders, perfectly silent treatment, guilt trips, threatening to take away her phone, sometimes even telling her she was ungrateful for having a home. Her whole life was one long training session on how to keep her mother calm. She told me she never wanted to break up, not even for a second. She said she panicked because her dad made threats, her mom said she'd ruin the family, and she genuinely believed she didn't have a choice. Not because of love or loyalty, because of fear. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't looking for her to confess anything. I wasn't fishing for apologies. But hearing it was strange. It didn't fix anything, but it explained the parts I used to go over in my head. She also admitted she lied to me about a few things because her mom would pressure her into saying whatever made her look helpless or dependent. And she told me something that stuck with me longer than anything else, that she didn't know where her real personality ended and where her mom's influence began. She said she felt like I fell for a version of her that wasn't fully her. Then she asked if I ever really saw her as her own person or just someone to protect. I didn't have a clean answer. The truth is, at times, I did feel protective, not in a savior way, not in a controlling way, but because she seemed trapped in this house that sucked the confidence out of her every day. I didn't think that made me a hero. I thought it made me a boyfriend, but hearing her ask that question forced me to admit I didn't really know how much of her was shaped by fear and pressure. It wasn't romantic or emotional, it just felt like we were looking at the old relationship through a microscope and seeing how warped it all was. Final update. It started with a call I didn't recognize. I don't pick up numbers I don't know, but the same number tried twice, then 3 times, and I finally answered because I thought maybe it was something important for work. It wasn't. It was the ex's dad. I hadn't heard from him since he threatened me years ago, back when he was still pretending to be some tough guy despite barely being able to lift a hammer with one hand. I almost hung up the second I recognized his voice, but something in the way he talked made me pause. He didn't sound angry. He didn't sound threatening. He sounded tired. He told me he needed to talk, not to fight or blame me, but because he didn't know who else to call. It threw me off because this was the same man who used to puff up his chest and act like I was the reason his whole life fell apart. Now he sounded like someone who finally ran out of excuses. He told me things I honestly didn't expect to hear from him, not because he wasn't capable of knowing the truth, but because I never thought he'd admit it. He said he'd been part of the whole thing since the beginning. Not the original plan that was all her mom, but he went along with it because after the accident, he felt useless. His words, not mine. He talked about how he used to work with his hands and how everything changed when he couldn't do the same kind of labor anymore. He said the fraud made him feel like he still had some value, even if it was fake. He also said he let his wife run everything because it was easier than confronting her. He admitted he failed his kids, not in a dramatic way, just a straightforward way that sounded like he'd been sitting with that guilt for years. He told me he apologized for threatening me back then, that he lashed out because I was the first person who disrupted the routine they built their whole life around. He said he knew the concert tickets weren't the real issue. It was everything that happened after. He said I didn't ruin anything. Their household was already collapsing long before I ever walked in the door. Then he said something that stuck with me. He told me his daughter finally moved out. Apparently she left 2 weeks before he called me. She didn't move in with a boyfriend or anything dramatic like that. She moved in with a coworker who let her stay on an air mattress while she sorted out her life. She didn't tell her mom where she was going. She didn't pack much. She just walked out after another blowout argument where her mom accused her of being the reason everything fell apart. She didn't defend herself. She just left and she didn't go back. Hearing that hit me harder than I expected. Not in an emotional, I need her back way. Just in a way where you realize someone finally saw what you saw years ago. She had been stuck in that house for so long, trained to believe she owed them her whole identity. Leaving wasn't just a physical move, it was the first real decision she ever made without their input. Her dad said she wasn't contacting her mom at all. She wasn't talking to most of the siblings either. She only talked to one of them, the one who reached out to me before. The one who had enough of everything. The mom apparently went ballistic. She called everyone she knew. She told relatives her daughter was kidnapped. She called the daughter's job claiming she was mentally unstable. She even tried to reach out to me again, but I blocked her months ago and wasn't about to entertain anything she had to say. Her dad said the house was a war zone. The mom blamed him for their daughter leaving. She blamed the siblings for not being loyal. She blamed the state, the system, anyone she could name. And then she circled back around to blaming me, because she always did. He told me he was thinking about leaving her too, not because of love or regret or anything sentimental, but because he was done living under her control. He said the accident destroyed his body, but living with her destroyed everything else. He also said my ex didn't want me dragged back into anything. She wasn't reaching out to me directly because she didn't want to use me as a crutch or fall back into old patterns. She wasn't asking to get back together, wasn't asking for help. Wasn't asking for sympathy. She just wanted him to let me know she didn't hate me and didn't hold any grudges about the ticket thing. She said she finally understood everything in a way she couldn't back then. That was it. No big confession. No dramatic reunion. Just a quiet acknowledgement that we both lived through something that messed us up in different ways. When I got off the phone, I sat there for a long time, not because I was sad or nostalgic, but because it was strange seeing everything come full circle. The mom kept unraveling even after the daughter left. She kept calling relatives, trying to pull them to her side. She tried blaming the dad for letting her run the house. Some relatives backed away. Others stopped answering her calls. A few of them already suspected the fraud for years, but never said anything. Now everything was out in the open and she was losing control of the narrative, which was the only thing she ever really cared about. The siblings ended up splitting in different directions. One moved in with their partner, one stayed home because they didn't know what else to do. One tried to get a job and got fired within 2 weeks because they'd never been allowed to function on their own. It wasn't a clean ending, but I guess families like that never get clean endings. As for me, I stayed out of it. I didn't call anyone back. I didn't follow up. I didn't try to insert myself into their problems. I'm in my own place, my own life, minding my own business. I've moved forward.